This might seem like a bit of a departure from our normal programming here on the Terminal Element, but this project is all about family and communication and information sharing, and my daughter Avery is really passionate about a fantastic company that promotes family togetherness through gaming called Nintendo, and she'd like to teach you a little bit about it. So, if you have just a few minutes to make an 11-year-old girl extremely happy by watching her video, then I present to you the history of Nintendo.
Hello everyone, today we're going through the history of Nintendo and some stuff about it. Let's go! It's crazy to think that Nintendo started out in 1889 as a card company. That's right, founded by Fuzzyarjo Yamauchi, Nintendo handmade Hanafuda playing cards. But when playing cards decreased in popularity, Nintendo set off to try new businesses like taxi services and ramen noodles, until they found video games. After that whole ordeal, in 1953, Nintendo partnered with R&D 2, Research and Development 2, and Mitsubishi Electronics, and got a license from Magnavox to make the first Nintendo console called the Color TV game. That's a very boring name. The Color TV came in 5 different types, like the Color TV Game 6, Color TV Game 15, both featuring Pong-alike games, Color TV Block Kuzshi, Color TV Racing 112, and Computer TV Game. It wasn't all that revolutionary, but it was the first step to the journey to the Nintendo we know today. In 1980, Nintendo made their first handheld called the Game & Watch. It featured 1 game per system and a digital clock. There were games like Ball, Donkey Kong, and Spitball Sparky. It also featured 2 game difficulty types, Game A and Game B. Game A was the easier version, while Game B was the harder version. I think the most interesting part is the inspiration for the Game & Watch. Ginpai Yoki got the idea from a man playing on his calculator on a train. The split-screen shape of some of the Game & Watch systems would foreshadow the future design of the Nintendo DS. In 1985, Nintendo released the video game industry-saving console, the Nintendo Entertainment System, or the family computer exclusively made in Japan. The NES featured the iconic Super Mario Bros., Duck Hunt, The Legend of Zelda, and Metroid. They were all big hits, sprouting into several major game franchises. The NES also introduced region lock to their consoles, so you couldn't play English Super Mario on a Famicom. 4 years later, in 1989, the Game Boy was released. The Game Boy introduced the first Pokemon games, Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow, along with the first Kirby game, Kirby's Dream Land, and the big game Tetris. It also had a lot of accessories like the Game Boy camera, Game Boy printer, and the Game Boy battery pack. There were several different versions of the Game Boy. The Game Boy Pocket was smaller and more portable than the original Game Boy. The Game Boy Color is what it sounds like. It had a colorful screen instead of the green and black screen of the Game Boy, displaying even the original games in color. In 1991, Nintendo made the Super NES, also known as the Super Famicom, in Japan, and it had shoulder buttons unlike the original NES. Some popular games on it were Super Mario World, Super Mario RPG, and Street Fighter II. In November of 2016, Nintendo released the NES and SNES Classic Edition, an emulator for the NES and SNES, and was discontinued in April 2017. The N64 brought with it a major evolution in gaming graphics. Characters appeared much less pixelated and were more lifelike. This was thanks to its 64-bit CPU, which was quite remarkable for 1996. It had some popular games like Super Mario 64, Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time, and everyone's favorite GoldenEye 007. And what's with that controller? Like, why does it have 3 prongs? Did we create it, or did someone or something? Thank you all for watching. I'll make a part 2 soon. Just so you know, you're cool. Thank you again. See you in part 2.